Hi, today we're going to have a quick introduction to the basics of Photoshop. Let's start with a tour. Over here we have the tool presets. This is your toolbar with everything from your brush to fill, your eraser. And with these tools, you'll see there's a little triangle on the side. And below, if you click that triangle, you'll see what I refer to as the sub-tools. The sub-tools are under the tool that's showing here. So here you can see right now, it's the magic eraser. I want to change it just to the eraser. So I can click that and now it's the eraser. So that triangle indicates a sub-tool. Over here on this side, we have our layers palette. If you don't see that open, you want to make sure your layers palette is open and your toolbar is open at all times. If you don't see your layer palette, you can go up to Window, go down, and make sure it's clicked. I'll turn it off, and then I'll turn it back on. You want to make sure that stays open. When you choose a tool, I'll choose the brush. You'll see up on top here, there are options for that tool. So I can change, my brush right now is set to a grass-like brush. I can change it to just a plain circle, or there are lots of options there. I can change the size of it up there. Okay, let's start by opening a canvas. I'm going to go File, Open, and I'm going to choose a symbol. This is a symbol from a previous 6th grader. You can see it's great because it's high contrast, very clear black and white areas, but the picture itself is kind of gray. So let's improve the quality of that picture so it's easier for us to work with by making the grayish part be more white. So I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, and there are all sorts of adjustments here that you can make to your image. I'm thinking about brightness and contrast, but oh, look over here, auto tone, auto contrast, auto color. I could see if I click one of these, if Photoshop is reading my mind about what I want to happen and see if it works out for me. So I'll click auto contrast. And there, it's pretty white. I can make it even brighter manually by going Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast, and increase the brightness. So it's really a strong white and a strong black. I can adjust the black a little bit too. Okay, so, oh, there we go. So increased contrast really makes that a stronger black area for the symbol. Okay, so I have Photoshop open. I know where my toolbar is. I know where my layers palette is, and I'm working with a canvas. I notice my canvas is pretty big. So how about I crop out the unnecessary information? I chose the crop tool right here, and then I'm just dragging in the edges to what I actually need. So I'm working with this canvas right here. You can see my crop tool is still showing. When I'm not using something specific like that, I go back to my basic tool, the move tool, or the pointer tool sometimes it's called, just as a neutral tool to be in. One part of Photoshop that really freaks people out is this layers palette over here. People don't know what to do with the layers, they get confused with the layers, but let me just say now that you can handle the layers. You'll be able to master the layers, and then you'll be able to master Photoshop. So don't be afraid. Let's talk about layers right now. We have the layers palette. When you open an image, it opens as a layer over here, and you can see it's locked. To unlock the layer, double-click the layer, and you can name it if you want to. I'm just going to keep it unlocked. And I'm going to make a new layer. I can make a new layer by pressing this button down here, create a new layer, or I can go up to the top menu bar here and say new layer. I could also duplicate a layer, I could delete a layer. There's a variety of things I can do to layers here. So I'm going to just make a new layer this way. And it's layer 2. Okay. So over here you can see now I have my symbol layer 1 and layer 2. Where you see this light checkerboard of gray and white, that means there is nothing there. So looking like this, that indicates invisible, nothing. There's nothing there. Now you can see I just turned that layer off. I turned the eyeball off. You can click it on and off just to look at one layer at a time. So layer 2 is highlighted. Let me choose the brush tool and draw. You can see it appeared over here in layer 2. If I turn it off, it's not there. If I don't like it, I can control click and I can, whoa, let's see, I'm trying to delete the layer. There it is. You can see, let me do one more thing. Let's see, I'll go to layer 1 now, and let me flip my color palette around. And let's say I want to change the color. I have my color swatch open. If your color swatch isn't open, I can double click. Let's say I want to change it to a nice green. Okay, so now I have over here green and blue, and I'm on layer 1. Let's say I do another little loop-de-loop here. I can turn off layer 2. I can turn off layer 1, and my symbol is right there. Let's say I want layer 2 and layer 1 combined. I can again control click on it, and there's an option to merge down. And then those two layers merge together. I don't like this layer, so I'm going to delete it. I can control click and scroll down to delete, or I can drag it to my little trash can right here, and now that layer is gone. Okay, so let's experiment with manipulating the symbol a little bit while using layers. So I'm going to make a new layer again. I'm going to choose another tool here. I can have a fill tool, which I could fill the whole image with, and then I can erase. I'll increase the size of my brush a little bit here. I can also use the brackets as a shortcut for brush size. Oops, I don't like that I made an accidental eraser mark there, so I'm going to just undo. Oh, which it won't let me do. All right, I'll just ignore that. I'm going to erase a little bit more here. So I'm erasing through that layer and I can see my image. All right, let's say I want to, instead of filling with a color, I'll go sub that tool and choose the gradient tool. And I have lots of options that I can do with my gradient tool. Let's say I want a nice rainbow. And I can click and drag how I want that rainbow to be. So you can choose the many lines here. My mode is luminosity. I'm going to change that to normal. And there we have the rainbow layer. Now I want the glasses on top of the rainbow. To do that, I can just click the glasses and drag them up. And now they're on top. I can erase through my glasses, make sure my layer is highlighted. I can erase through and see the rainbow. A quick way to erase is the magic eraser. So I can go sub eraser, choose the magic eraser, and Photoshop will erase everything that it thinks I want erased. Okay, let's say I want to include another image in here. I'm going to open that image, file open. Okay. I'm going to open this flower image because I want to say something about my love of nature in my symbol. I'm going to crop it down just so I have the flower that I want. Press enter. And you can see up here I have a tab now that's flower, and I have a tab that's my symbol. I'm going to go to my flower. I'm choosing my move tool. I'm selecting my flower. It's going to take the whole thing, and I'm going to click and drag it over to my symbol. And I did not release the click until I was on my symbol. So I'll do that again. Here I have my history tab open, which is nice. I can go back in history. If you want that open, it's under Window, History, and you can go back in time or go forward in time. Okay, so I'm going to my flower. I am on my Move tool. I'm selecting my flower. I'm clicking and dragging. I'm not releasing the click. I'm going over here and I'm releasing the click. Now you can see it's really big. So I want to change the size of this so it fits what I want. Unless this is the size that you want. You can move this layer around. It's layer number 2 now. I can drag it here and you can see it's in between the rainbow and it shows up in my sunglasses or in my glasses. If I want that flower to be smaller, I'll turn this off so I can see it. I'm going to free transform the size, Command T, or let's see, where is free transform? Edit, free transform, Command T. And if I press Shift and hold, it will change it proportionally. I can move it around and say I want that there. Great. And I can press Enter when I'm done. Okay, so now I can turn on my symbol layer and I can see where my flower is. My flower layer is still highlighted. I can use the Move tool and move it around. Maybe I want a flower in that eye, and then, hey, I really like how that looks. What if I put a flower in the other eye as well? I can take this layer, Control click, duplicate layer, so it's layer 2 copy, and use my Move tool to move that other layer around. If I want this other layer to be smaller, I can free transform again, Command T, and you can see it outlines, even though I can't see that whole image, it outlines the whole thing. Press Shift, change it to the size that you want, and press Enter. The last thing, well, 2 more things I want you to learn: selecting an object to move it. So let's say I select this flower, and then how to flatten your image and save it. So let's go on to the selecting of an object. I'm going to just turn the visibility off of my glasses there, and I want to focus on layer 2, and I want to get rid of all this extra green in here. With Photoshop, there's lots of ways to do things, different paths to get to the same destination. You could take the magic eraser and go in here and start. The magic eraser erases, like we did with the glasses, what it thinks you want it to erase. So I can click here and it will erase everything that's approximately the same color. Now I'm getting into a danger zone here because if I want that stem, and it's a little bit cumbersome, so I can switch to the eraser tool, use my bracket to make it bigger, and I can go in and just straight up erase things if I want to. But another option that I have is to select, which maybe you'll want to do. Oh, see, now I've made a mistake, so I can go backwards. Maybe you'll want to just select the flower, and you can select something with a marquee. There's a couple different shape marquees here you can use. You can also use the very exciting lasso tool. So we have the magnetic lasso, and under sub the lasso, we have the regular lasso and a polygonal lasso for geometric shapes. So if I just go with my lasso tool, I can click and try and select something. So let's say I select that. It's a little bit sloppy. I'll know it's selected when it's a dotted line like that. And when there is something selected, you can move it and just move that section if you want to. I'm going to undo that. You could also select an area and color in just that area. So if I go to my color palette here, let's see, yeah, green is a fine, well, let's switch to something different. I'll do cancel, and I'm gonna go to my little preset, which is black and white. So whatever color is on top I'm gonna use. Let's say I'm gonna fill this in with black. I can take the paintbrush and I can just color everywhere. I'm coloring everywhere, you can see, but it's only filling in that selected area. So that's nice for whatever area is selected, that's the area that you're working with. Now I'm going to instead try and select the whole flower to work with. And now I'll try and use different tools. They won't work until I unselect it. To unselect, Command D. For deselect, Command D. Okay, so another lasso, which is so fun to use, is the magnetic lasso. Magnetic lasso there, sub lasso. And this is another Photoshop Read Your Mind feature where it's going to try and connect to what it thinks you want it to connect to. So as I go around here, you'll hear me click. I'm setting down little anchor points. And I have to move kind of slowly. I now am doing this with ease, but this does not come without practice. So I know to put down some anchor points. You might all of a sudden double click, and when you double click, it connects where you are to the original anchor point. And then it might cut through your flower if you're not done. So I'll double click here and it connects to that point. So I've now selected my flower. I can copy this, Command C. I can make a new layer and Command V, put the flower there. And you can see now it's appeared over here. I'll turn this off. So there it is. I got a little extra green in there. I can zoom in and eliminate that. So I'm going to just trash layer 2 now because I don't want that anymore. And I'm going to get rid of layer 2 copy also because I'm just going to deal with one flower. And I will go in and erase with my eraser this extra little bit. But to make sure I have it exactly right, I'm going to go zoom in, and I can adjust my brush up here if I want to have a chisel tip or something like that, or just erase so it's a little bit transparent. I can do that, but I'm just going to go in there and just do the tidying up that I want to do for my work here to have a nice clean edge. Maybe some other little places. And I'll zoom out again, Command minus. So Command plus to zoom in, Command minus. Now I'm coming back over here. I'm going to turn the visibility of my glasses on. You can see my flower is through there and the rainbow is behind it. My flower is highlighted. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, so free transform. Free transform, I can also rotate it around. So you can change the direction. Remember, if you wanted to go proportionally, press Shift, move it in, move it up, see how it looks. Okay, so cute. Press Enter, and then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer. I can duplicate it by selecting Layer and Duplicate Layer, or I could Control-click and Duplicate Layer as well. Alright, so layer 3, it's right on top. I'm going to use my Move tool. Move it over. I'll free transform it to rotate it around a little bit, give it a little symmetry there, and maybe move it in a little bit. Okay. Move it over a little bit using my arrow tools. The more you experiment with Photoshop, the more you will learn. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Try things out, and you'll learn more and more as you go. One fun thing I'll throw in here that you can play around with are the filters. And you could try any of these filters to give a little something fun to your symbol, and they're fun to play with. So I could render, or actually I'll go to the filter gallery, and I could try different things. So that's beautiful, the paint daubs or the palette knife, little blurry watercolor version. So it's the computer version of these. I can try sketching it. Computer, stylize, texture, stained glass. So you can try any of these, and you see it's only applying the filter to the layer that I'm on. So I like that first one there. Or film green is also nice, little texture. Cut out. All right, I'm going with the original. Say okay. You can adjust things over here. I'm just going to say okay. And you can see the effect on there. You can do the same thing for your other layers as well. You could just sharpen the edges a little bit. Simple things like that. All right, when you're happy with how each layer looks, how they're lined up together, the last step is saving your work. And you want to save it in a way where you could email it to your grandma in Australia and she can open it up. So the first thing you need to do is make it one image again. You have 4 different layers happening over here. It's 4 different parts of your image. You want to flatten it, pancake it into one layer. So one way you can do that, Control-click and scroll down to flatten image. And then it becomes one image there. Another way to do that is under Layer, at the very bottom, there's Flatten Image there as well. Now to save it. File, Save As, and it's already chosen for me JPEG. I think that's because my glasses was originally in a JPEG. Sometimes you end up with a Photoshop file where it ends in PSD, Photoshop file. You don't want to send that to your grandma because she probably doesn't have Photoshop on her computer and she won't be able to open it. You want to save it as something generic like a JPEG. You could do any of these JPEGs. I'll just go straight up JPEG. I'll save it to my desktop. I'll save it as Miss Graham final symbol. My name is in the title, so it's easy for my teacher to know whose symbol it is. And I'll go ahead and save that, and I will, you can say OK for quality is high. I will put that in my Google folder so Miss Graham can find it in the right place.